Call me Bucky, lucky that I'm innocent. If I didn't have no mobiles, I'd be menacing. How about
Welcome to Soul Therapy. My name is Sandy. Today we have here Aleks to join us. Aleks is a long-time seller with PUSHAS, and I'm really excited to share his story on how he got started with reselling and where he's at now. Let's get into it.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. What do you want me to start from the very beginning?
Well, yeah. No, tell me a little bit about yourself, Aleks. Like, what do you do?
Well,
who are you? Who's Aleks?
Probably the best intro would be where I started and where it's got me now. Started working at a sneaker store in Liverpool. Terrible experience. Doesn't deserve the shout out, so I'm not going to give him a shout out.
Well, how old were you?
Fresh out of high school. This was first year uni, so first gig during uni as well, so I had to balance that. And then I just had enough, so I resigned.
Yeah. How long were you there for?
Probably less than a year. Started off at Liverpool, ended up at Bankstown. I ended up applying for Adidas. My friend from high school actually worked there. Shout out Ellen. So I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds like a pretty cool environment.
Yeah.
Got the job, kicked it there for about 2 years. So ended up working up until end of 2020, so pandemic hit, got my JobKeeper stuff, and then I dipped. Ended up working somewhere else after that at a hospital, but during my time then, that's really when I got into sneakers. I've got a bunch of shoes that I've collected. It's the pandemic's hit. I don't know how this is going to turn out financially, whether I'm going to have a job. Yeah. I've got my mum, I've got my dad pestering me. They're like, what are you going to do with this? Like, what are you hoarding them for? You're a hoarder. So I'm like, shit, I've got to offload them. Marty as well, shout out Marty, another good mate at Adidas. He happened to know you and he's like, oh yeah, let me put you on to PUSHAS. I'm like,
shout out Martin, because this is how we met Aleks.
This is how, we initially met. So you screen everyone, you're like, oh, what's your history? What do you have? What's your experience? Where have you worked? So you guys were happy to have me on board. So I managed to offload all my sneakers quite quickly as well. And I'm like, okay, I haven't gotten broke yet. Pandemic really hasn't hit Australia yet. Let's see if we can get some more. So that's when I really started to join those Discord groups, and they would always put you onto raffles, put you onto in-store drop.
So I've got two questions for you. The first one is, how many pairs did you start off with, and how did you kind of build that up slowly?
Yeah.
And what are you on now?
I think when I first contacted you, maybe I had about 15, 20.
I remember. Yeah. I remember that day.
You're probably like, this guy, who the f is this guy coming in with his like piece of shit, like Yeezys and like random like Adilet slides and stuff is trying to list. I think they were the Arizona tea collab that I had at one point. I think they were the first ones to sell it. I'm like, okay, I bought these for like $20 at the outlet. How are they selling for $90?
So just a bit of background. So Aleks comes in his car, his loud ass car, his coupe two-door loud ass car with a trunk full of sneakers, and I'm like,
straight piped 86.
and then I'm like just in the office. Oh my goodness,
whole thing's vibrating.
Yeah, like the whole windows are vibrating. I was like, who the hell is this? And then he just shows up with shoes. I was like, okay, where are the shoes? And he pulls up his trunk. I'm like, oh.
I fit all 15 in that tiny ass trunk.
I was just like, oh my goodness. All right. Do you still have the same car?
I had it up until a month ago. So I had it for 6 months. It's now moved on to my mum. So
your mum drives that car?
Yeah, so every time she pulls up to the lights, she's going to the gym and you've got some, guy from the area trying to race her. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't drive it like this. So she got me to take the exhaust off, but now she enjoys it. It's a lovely car. It's still lovely.
It is. Like, I don't know how you're getting away with that exhaust because...
I don't either. Going on a tangent a bit, but I've now ended up going from those initial 20 that I dropped off. I've probably got about, 350? 350 currently in the warehouse, and I'd sell a fair few in the month and I'll restock them. So to consistently, once you build up that supply, consistently entering the raffles, finding some steals on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something. Just, I guess, having that business mindset to know where to look, finding something cheap, knowing what is wanted and what you're able to actually flip and isn't a brick. Yeah. And you can actually sell down the line. No bots.
Awesome. No bots.
No bots. Yeah, not to hate on people that use it. It's just I'm not a fan. Like sort of gatekeeping and just having a monopoly isn't that great for either the buyers or the sellers.
Along the way, did you make any bad purchases? Where
you're like, definitely.
Shit, I should have copped that one. That was a brick.
When I used to work at the outlet, I'd buy shoes for like $15, $20, something crazy. And they'd sit there, and even though they're $20 and I'm selling them for 40, no one wants to buy them. So that was a pain just to get rid of them. I had like $1,000 worth of $40 shoes sitting. Yeah, proper Eiffel Tower, I told you.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you were reselling through the pandemic as well.
It was a very precarious situation. Didn't know how it was going to go out. And I had a bunch. Found you guys and listed through you guys. Most of them, if not all of them, I think sold within a matter of months. I'm like, okay, like I've got all this extra cash now. I could either keep it and safeguard it, or I could, you know, turn it over and make something of it. I'm like, these ones have, like these past shoes have sold. I could really make something out of this just to survive through the pandemic. Especially we were getting that, you know, economic boom with all the stimmies that the Americans were getting, and especially here with JobKeeper. So I felt that it was a good move to keep my head afloat as well. So
I think you're one of many sellers who throughout the pandemic were laid off and had to, I guess they kind of leaned into sneaker reselling and what they knew to kind of keep themselves and their family afloat. What was your fondest and what was your worst memory in, I guess, sneaker reselling?
Jan 2020, so really before COVID hit, they were still doing lineups at stores. So, and I was still employed at Adidas at that time. So met a couple of cool people, mad people. You know, conversations hit different when it's like super late night, I guess early morning.
On the street, when it's cold, in Sydney, when there's nothing else to do.
Exactly, yeah. Finally, they let us in at 7:38 whenever the store opened. Walking in, it was the area manager at that time that was there. And I'm trying to see if she's making eye contact. I'm doing these ones, like. She's not noticing me. I'm like, okay. At this point, I've been working at Adidas for 2 years, so she clearly knows me. And get to the front, she's like, Aleks, aren't you at work this morning? I'm like, no, I've got a day off. Am I not supposed to be here? It's like, I'll have a chat with you later. I'm like, okay. That chat never happened, by the way. I'm like, what are you gonna?
That was a power move. It was a power move.
You're gonna pick me up.
Just trying to make you feel nervous. It was a power move.
I'm here from like 4 a.m. I've lined up like everybody else. The only thing is I brought my mates to also help me cop.
And plus, like, your store doesn't open at like 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So
these guys open early for the drop.
Yeah.
Even if I did have work, my store opens at like, what was it, 9 or 9:30.
Actually, before you even signed up for PUSHAS, did you do any random meetups? Did you sell on other marketplaces?
Yeah. So I tried to sell on Gumtree and stuff. There's a funny story behind that as well. So I was using my missus account. I had the Cloud Whites up because I had those in 2019 when they dropped. That was when I was just collecting a personal collection. And I put them up, whatever the price was, $400, $500 back then. And some guy offers me 150, 200. So I sent an address to some comedy club at Sydney CBD, and I'm like, meet me here, and he's like, puts a question mark. I'm like, just meet me here if you want to act like a f***ing clown. We can go meet up at the comedy club. And then I ended up getting my girlfriend's account banned, and she was very upset with me. But it's still a funny story. That's probably the worst thing that has happened. Haven't gotten into any punch-ons or anything. I know a guy, he was selling a PS5 in Melbourne. Went to a park with his wife and his kid in a stroller. Car pulls up.
Wait, is this set the tone? Broad
daylight,
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight in a park, other families around, somewhere in Melbourne. Car pulls up, far away, they're in the middle of the park. Sees two guys get out from the back. Which is, okay, that's a bit whatever. Good instinct on this guy. Tells his wife to take the kid for a little stroll around, like, get away. And he's got the PS5. He wants to see the money. They're like, oh, let me see the PS5. I want to see the money. End up pulling out a knife.
In broad daylight.
Take his PS5, take his phone.
His phone.
Take his phone as well. So he can't call the police, I guess. And take his phone and just bolted. As soon as you see him, two blokes coming out from the back, not the front, from the back. And it's crazy because you think broad daylight, like in the park with other families, you'll be safe. But that's why it's advised, you know, if you're doing any meetup, Facebook Marketplace, anything that you're selling, meet up at, you know, police station or a Macca's or something where there's cameras during the day where it's a high crowd. Yeah, that's the worst story I've heard. Yeah. Fondest and worst.
That's great that you sell with us and you don't have to
meet
up with random people, and we kind of look after the transaction for you, and you just get paid. Pretty much. But
that's
wow, okay. So I'm still kind of feel like fuck, like he had a kid.
Yeah,
Like
man,
that
yeah.
is so rude. That is
People-
like
People don't care. Yeah, it is rude.
it's
I mean,
so
it's
rude. And
yeah,
your
it's
wife,
rude. Yeah,
it's
very
kind-
rude.
Do you know what I mean? It's the audacity. Like he would have seen the kid and the family from a mile away,
Oh, yeah,
spotted
yeah.
them, or like, oh yeah, that's still like two guys. Let's go traumatize
They
this
still probably
poor
would have done
kid
it.
and
Yeah,
wife.
still probably would have done it even if the wife was there with the kids.
That's-
That's why you got to be careful.
That's
Yeah.
terrible. How do you balance everything? Not even like getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
How do you like just from, you know, you have obviously your partner as well. You've got other, I'm sure
Social
you have,
life, yeah.
yeah, social life, other commitments. How do you
Yeah.
balance everything?
Like I said, you got to automate it. So a lot of the raffles are easy to enter, especially once you've already had the details. So you just enter up in the raffles. Then I'd probably have to, go out with friends, see the missus, play a couple of games just to de-stress. I also do music. I play piano, so I got to practice piano. Got to eat. Of course, forgot about eating, showering, self-care
Chocolate
stuff.
shit.
Yeah.
Chocolate
Like I
shit.
said, we're
You're
not
gonna
those.
schedule your shits,
We're not those.
the coffee.
We're not to that level yet, thank God. But it's a very dire time if I ever get to that level. But we're not those like dungeon dwellers that haven't had a shower in 1 week because they're like, oh, I gotta fucking get this shit, get that shit. Gotta get everything done because we don't have time. So
Yeah.
it's all scheduling.
You heard it yourself from Alex. Automate and schedule your life as much as you can. Alex, what is your biggest ick?
What are those? A lot of the girls wear those filler
Oh,
stompers.
I know which one you're talking about. The really thickums.
Those stompers, it
thickums
adds
of-
like 5 inches of
Yeah.
like height, and it makes those
Yeah.
short kings feel even shorter. It's like,
is it
it's
like
just- I
a?
don't know,
Is it an
something about it,
insecurity
man.
thing for you, Alex? You feel a bit short, a bit emasculated.
No, I don't-
That you know that there's taller women out there wearing stompers, or what is it?
I don't think that's a threat. I'm 6'1", it should be okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like a 6'1" girl and you wear them and now you're like 6'5", man, all power to you, bro. I'm sure there's someone that's like 6'8", some basketballer that would
Yeah.
love those shoes.
Yeah, what's planned for you? Like, are you going to still resell? Are you, like you mentioned, you're now in research?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's too much of a loaded question,
No, no,
if you're going to say kick it, I'd take kick it.
Look, we are trying to kick it. We're just trying to cruise through. But there's this Latin phrase called, I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, amor fati, which means love your fate, right? So as long as you go through life and you try your absolute best, no matter in what it is, I feel like you'll succeed. Everything will fall into place, right? For me, like, I don't like to plan that I'll be a full-time reseller, I'll do business, I'll do something in research, I'll do medicine or something. It's wherever it takes me. I'm open to all options. And I think in order to figure out what your passion and I guess fate is for the future, you have to try a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And like I said, learn from your mistakes, see what works for you best. Like for me, I might go and start a business or something now that I've got this business sense and a little bit of semblance of what it takes to run a business. Or I may end up working in research or doing medicine or something else, who knows. Cruise through, kick it, try and enjoy the present. That's the thing. Don't live too much in the past or too much in the future, because you'll forget that the present's fleeting. So
It's been a pleasure having you here, Alex. Thank you so
Pleasure's
much for
all
your
mine.
time. And I know you have heaps of things to do, like, for example, the drop-off that you mentioned today. But for those who want to find out more about you, your hustle, cars, and also pick your brain on how to get started with reselling and life in general, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. So I don't have a personal page. I like to keep my life a little bit private, so it's on private. But I do have a car page where I do updates on my car. If anyone's a car guy watching this, or
For sure. Well, thanks for tuning in to Soul Therapy. My name is Sandy. Like and subscribe below, and see you next time.
your car's loud, so they knew about it. And
It's like,
yeah.
what? Your car's loud.
Another, he just got the windows tinted. Homie stabbed me in the back and that can never be forgiven. And my palms been itching, man, I like the superstition. You can't have my phone number unless we running up the digits. Let me meditate, I just need a couple minutes. Tryna low bomb me, my cojones to the